Guys, it's Supernova here, and I'm sure if you clicked on this video, it's because you like Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you clicked on it, I'm sure it's because you like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And I'm sure if you've been following, you know that there's a new Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime titled Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. It's been out for a while, but its dub just recently released, and I want to ask the question of if it's good or bad. So, let's get into it. We start off by seeing our new main character, Yuga Odo, controlling some kind of large mech while he's charging towards a mysterious duelist. Now, we don't know who this is till later on in the episode, but of course this isn't real as he wakes back up to reality and we see him doing something on his computer. We then find out that he's actually modifying his duel disk when suddenly he's locked out of his computer and receives a penalty. And we learn that in this world, penalties are basically what you get if you violate something in duel rules. And if you receive 6 of them, you'll never be able to duel again. And of course, as we can see, Yuga already has 5. We then see Yuga on his way to school when he's confronted by a Goha robot. The Goha robot is quick to tell him that it doesn't recognize the bicycle and that he should get off of it. But Yuga doesn't care and just keeps riding regardless. When we meet Gavin. And Gavin is basically the rule instructor and rule shark of the series. We can clearly see that as he immediately begins to yell at Yuga on a rant about why what he's doing is wrong before explaining the whole Goha situation and how they're basically corrupting the entire world, and Yuga explains that he just wants freedom for all duelists. Which, when you think about it, is actually a really good motivation and also shows how in the grass his world actually is. But if you needed proof, we see 2 young duelists exchanging cards, just trading as usual, when they're confronted by a Goha robot. This Goha robot then tells them that they have to be at a certain place and at a certain time in order to trade, which sucks. But we then see Yuga on his way out of the school when he's confronted by Obsidian, also known as Luke, who's kind of like the best friend character of the series. We also find out that Luke overheard Yuga talking about his road to freedom and wants to talk about it, but Yuga quickly brushes him off. In retaliation, Luke then stops Yuga's bicycle, where we then make another jump cut to nighttime. Luke then explains to Yuga about a theory that he has about dueling. He goes on to say that at the night, the earth calls for the king of the duel. And at nighttime, down inside of a cave, you'll duel a legendary duelist. We know this because Luke has tried to duel it several times, but has lost every time. Also come to find out that he has all 6 penalties and can't duel. Yuga then begins to ponder the question, if you can't beat him in Master Duel, then what about Rush Duel? But before they're really able to do anything, Gakuto appears after overhearing them talking. He then begins to go on another tangent about the rules when suddenly Roman Cassidy appears. And Roman serves as the female lead of the series. But all of this is broken up when the legendary duelist appears and him and Yuga begin their duel. But with Rush Duel implied, Yuga's duel disk becomes a 7 with 3 slots instead of 5. And just like that, the duel begins. The duel starts with us learning a new rule that in Rush Duel you can summon as many cards as you want, so Yuga naturally summons 3 monsters. But he ends his turn right after, now making it Otis's turn, or the Goha man. Otis goes on to summon 2 monsters and tributes them to summon Blue Eyes White Dragon, which was infamously used by Seto Kaiba in the original anime. And in typical Seto Kaiba fashion, he uses Burst Stream of Destruction, which knocks Yuga out completely. But there's no worries as he gets up and draws 5 cards. This moment lets us know that if you have no cards in your hand, you can draw 5 immediately, so you can always make a comeback. You always have 5 cards at once. After that rule is explained, Yuga summons his own 2 monsters, but then also tribute summon to summon 7's Road Magician, which seems to be his ace monster. And with some upgrades, is able to take him from 2,500 to 5,200 attack points. After this, Yuga activates his effect, which allows him to gain 300 attack points for every attribute in his graveyard. It just so happens that Yuga has every attribute in his graveyard except for the light attribute. So now he has to make a destiny draw moment to get it. But of course, because he's the protagonist, he's able to draw it, and Seven's Road gains 7,000 attack points. Seven's Road Magician being this powerful, he attacks Otis and wins the duel immediately. After Yuga wins the duel, Rush Duel is officially installed into Yu-Gi-Oh! Due to this, we get a montage of every duelist duel disc becoming a Sevens duel disc. And just like that, the episode ends. But before I finish off this video, I want to talk about the characters individually. Starting off with the main character, Yuga, I really like his vibe. It's definitely giving off Yugi. Of course, he's the smallest in the group. And I really like how selfless he was in the episode, as he didn't want to be the best, he just wanted freedom for all duelists around the world. And I definitely think he has a lot of potential for the future. Now moving on to Obsidian Aka Luke, I gotta be honest, I didn't really like his character in this episode. You see, when I originally watched the sub for this series, he gave off the more mysterious, cool vibe, which would put him on par with characters like Joey and Crow. But once I started watching the dub, he was more so a surfer dude who just said things like bro and sus, and he didn't seem as cool and more so annoying. But he could redeem himself in the future. Now moving on to Gavin, I gotta say I really liked his character. The whole rule shark / class president idea really works on him, and it leads to some really funny moments. So I'd say he's a pretty cool character. And last but not least, we have Roman Cassidy. Now, clearly she didn't do much in this episode as she appeared in the very last few minutes, but I already like her vibe so far. The idea of her being a guitarist and essentially being good at everything else but dueling could lead up for some really good stories in the future. So I'd say I liked her a lot as well. Now, overall, I think this first episode was really good and left a good impression on its target audience. Rush Duel seems like a very fun and interesting format, and the characters have really good dynamics and chemistry. So for this first episode, I'm going to give it a good 7 out of 10. But that's going to be it for this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe.